What does it mean to transition? The word has many contextual meanings. In a film, a fade between one scene and the next is called a transition. In conversation, we'll often transition into talking about a new topic. When we move, we are transitioning from one place to another. When a child has difficulties adjusting to their new school, it's often called a tough transition. It's a strange word because it's definitionally reliant on a state of beforeness and a state of afterness between which it rests. In observable reality, you start in one place and you end in another. It should be as simple as that. But there's a distinct phase that begins before you've left and ends sometime after you've arrived. It's a period of hyper-awareness when your brain is still adjusting to a new set of stimuli. Eventually, of course, you get used to it. You adjust. The new becomes the normal. Your awareness dulls as your brain systematizes what information is important and what information can be ignored. The past recedes and the future collapses into the present. You have now transitioned. And this is the part where I talk about being transgender. When a person comes out as trans, ideally we respect their pronouns and we call them by their new name and we treat them as if they have already transitioned. When we talk about a transgender person transitioning, we're often talking specifically about HRT, hormone replacement therapy. For the friends and relatives of a transgender person, their transition is purely biological. This comes from the assumption that a transgender person has always known that they are transgender, that they are in some essential way the gender they identify as, not the gender they were assigned at birth. What this assumption inherently excludes is the possibility that an apparently cisgender man can go 50 years living as a cisgender man only to realize that they are in fact transgender. The older a person is when they come out, the more uncomfortable we feel, which is why in media, even sympathetic depictions of such a person will make a point of showing them trying to cross-dress in an overtly feminine way, and then feeling deep shame at how ridiculous they look. It's only when they've situated themselves as feminine that cross-dressing becomes acceptable, which strengthens our cultural belief that cross-dressing is inherently shameful if done by a cisgender person. But what if an apparently cisgender man has never once cross-dressed, has never looked at women's clothes with envy? What if instead of painful dysphoria and crippling depersonalization, they just felt a vague discomfort that they'd lacked the language to identify? What if such a person believed that being cisgender was natural and sufficient right up until the moment that it wasn't? We like the feminine essence theory because it allows for the existence of transgender people without threatening cisgender integrity. Doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, feminists, political pundits, and plenty of other supposed allies like to say, I support transgender people, but there have to be limits, because the binary is hegemonic. A transgender person needs to know for a fact that they are transgender as early as possible, and they need to act upon that fact in a visually identifiable way as soon as possible. Otherwise, a supposedly cisgender observer may be forced to confront the possibility that they are not, in fact, cisgender, because hegemonies are frail, and we don't like to believe that we are not in total command of every facet of our person, such that the mere suggestion feels like a threat. The most common question you'll find on transgender forums and subreddits is, how do I know if I'm trans? And the upsetting thing is that there really isn't a satisfying answer. Gender identity isn't based on a set of biological, sociological, or psychological criteria. It's an infuriatingly subjective phenomenon that's a radical collision of all the above, plus an endless parade of other factors. Some people just know that they're trans, and others take years to realize that they're even allowed to ask the question. In reality, most transgender people doubt whether they're trans all the time, but they don't talk about this fact because in many places, the feminine essence theory is the sole metric for whether or not they're allowed to medically transition. Questioning one's transness is seen by some professionals as proof that they cannot be transgender. So we have an impassable ontological disconnect between the highly variable and subjective nature of gender and the objective expectations of a medical professional holding a checklist based on the strictures set forth by the DSM-4. So transgender people hide their doubt and buy into the feminine essence theory because it gets them the treatment they need with relatively little friction. They fit themselves into a stereotype so that they can survive, and they insist that, yes, when you come out, you have transitioned. That's what the world expects, so that's how you behave. But the reality is, no transition occurs at a snap of the fingers. A trans person has to learn not just what society expects of someone in their preferred gender role, but also what presentation works for their body, for their personality, for their health and comfort. Many take on grooming, exercising, or voice training regimens meant to work a trans person towards looking, sounding, and behaving like what society at large expects of a cisgender man or a cisgender woman. But none of these are the thing, though. When you move to a new city, it's not just that you're getting used to a new commute or what the best local food joints are. There's a psychological adjustment as well. Every city has a personality, a gravity, a presence to which one must grow accustomed. Your behavior changes, the way you think changes, you change in ways you might not even notice. We often emphasize behavioral and medical adjustments for a transgender person's transition, but what about the psychological? What of gender's personality, its gravity, its presence? Definitionally, there must be a state of beforeness and a state of afterness for a transition to occur, and there must be a state of mind between the two, which occupies some significant chunk of time before a trans person has grown accustomed to the change. You see, in the course of... You see, in the course of my transition, This isn't working. I don't know who any of this is for. I can talk about this all day. I can come up with explanations for what a transition is. I can go off on media trends and depictions of trans people and how these things affect us. I can go off on this thing that basically everybody identifies because it falls right in line with how media oppresses people of all marginalized identities, and that's easy to accept. It's easy to celebrate. I could do that for an hour, but what does that really do? Who is it for? Does it help a trans person to see that? To see, here's a media trend. This is the effect it has. A trans person knows that. A trans person's seen that their entire lives. When you're pointing these things out as if no one's ever noticed them before, you're inherently addressing an audience that hasn't had that experience. So this video is for cis people because it's trying to help cis people understand what a transition is, right? Like how cisgender people conceptualize trans people is how we conceptualize ourselves. That dominant worldview is in everything. It's not as if it's just an opinion that is just there. It's everywhere. It's everything. Because the world can't be wrong. That would be a refusal to take responsibility for one's actions. You shouldn't blame the world for your problems. Blame yourself. And I think trans people blame ourselves for everything. This skin is not the same skin that I had 10 years ago when I was in high school, when when my mom died. And I know that the skin that I had yesterday is not the same skin that I will have tomorrow. And I have to ask what this skin is today, because I see who I was back then and I see who I could be tomorrow. And these are the possibilities. These are the poles. But what's in between? Who am I in this? There are days when I feel like I'm the person that I want to be, and there are days when I feel like I'm the person I was 10 years ago. I feel like I'm constantly oscillating back and forth between these poles, and there are days when I feel this tremendous euphoria and I think I'm here, I've made it, I have transitioned. And then a stray look, a random thing somewhere, and I'll just be right back in the thick of it, right back in this feeling of defeat. And you're bouncing back and forth between these things because there's just no framework for loving yourself, for accepting yourself, for working through those emotions, because a trans person is supposed to know and is supposed to act and is supposed to be. You come out and now you are her. I see her sometimes. I see her. But she's so far away. Her name is Sarah. I call myself Sarah. It's a name that sort of fell into my lap. You can go listen to my podcast if you want to hear that story. And the truth is, I feel more like her today than I did 4 or 5 months ago. But I still don't feel quite like her. Because Sarah is more than just a name. She's an ideal. She's the person I see when I imagine looking in the mirror. And she's the person that I hate myself for not being when I actually look in a mirror. Because what I see when I imagine her is someone strong, someone confident, someone who doesn't give a fuck, someone who knows who she is, and who isn't afraid to go outside and be who she is. Sarah. That name, I wear it like an ill-fitting suit that I know one day I'll grow into. But it doesn't fit today. And sometimes it feels a bit ridiculous wearing it. But when I hear my old name, I feel constricted. I feel pained. I feel strangled. Reminded of a person who has been left behind. I don't feel close to that person anymore. That dead name isn't me anymore. But if I'm not that person, and I'm not yet Sarah, who am I? What is my name? If it isn't Sarah and it isn't, my name is Between, because I am between. Because I'm transitioning. I'm in the middle of it. You said that you're afraid. What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of being found out. Like, that people are going to find out that I'm a trans person. But the thing is, like, I am very, very obviously a trans person, and it's unavoidable. I think that I want to be seen as a trans person. I don't think that I'm actually scared of that, because when I look back and I think about trans people that are powerful and proud, I think about wanting to be them back in the day, I think the thing that I'm actually scared of is looking like a man and sounding like a man and feeling like a man ever again. But I'm also afraid of being beautiful, I think. Like, it's scary to be beautiful and to be a trans person, because I know how men are, and I've dealt with the worst side of people most of my life, and I know that men love to destroy beautiful, marginalized people. I can't help but think, if I go out in the street, then I know that someone will probably want to hurt me. They'll want to ridicule me. They'll want to take that away from me. And I also know how I was and how I was trained to be by my parents and by my friends, and the way that they talked about trans people, and the way that myself 10 years ago with my friends would have made fun of me now wearing a dress and feeling beautiful. And I know that they want to take it from me because I wanted to take it from me. When I think about my transition, sometimes I can't help but think about how my relationship with my body is one where I could go down this road where at the end of it I die, or I kill myself, or I become so disgusting and horrible that I can't function in a society. There's this thing where when you're outside and you're plagued by this crippling insecurity that you're gonna turn your face one direction or the other direction, and then somebody's gonna catch you just in that perfect way, and they're going to see a man. I guess if I'm afraid of anything, it's of being afraid of somebody taking it from me, because then it's like another thing that's tainted by this like odd evil. How am I supposed to tell my family? How am I supposed to tell my friends? Why would I ever put myself in those positions? And the thing is, eventually, you just do. Because if you don't, you just die. And it's like, do you want to die, or do you want to be honest? And I don't want to die. I feel like it's easy to say that I could have killed myself, and the thing is, I tried, and it did, I got lucky a lot of times. But when I think about transitioning, I don't think I transitioned to stop myself from killing myself. I transitioned to stop myself from being somewhere else. I transitioned because I couldn't not. I couldn't live a life of feeling like it was all wrong and it was all for nothing, and I was just, I don't know. It's an unstoppable force of knowledge, of knowing that this is you and this is what your life is gonna be. And the thing is, I was fucking scared anyway. I was scared anyway. I've always been scared, and I would much rather be scared being like proud of myself and looking okay and feeling like I'm me and I'm attached to Earth than I would rather be scared, living in my head somewhere just miserable and cold. Everything is scary in life, especially for trans people. It's scary to live, it's scary to die, it's scary to transition, it's scary to not transition. And I really tried not to transition, but somebody fucked me up anyway when I was trying my best to not transition for them. And it didn't help. It didn't change anything. It just was me being miserable and having these things happen to me that I couldn't explain and I couldn't fix. I couldn't talk about. I couldn't change. It was just bad shit happening to me, and I just had to take it because I was a man, and that's what men did. And men should like sex, and men should like being in these abusive relationships, and that's what men should do. I said terrified and knowing it was wrong and just continuing to go along with it just so that I didn't have to have the awkward conversation of, hello, I think I'm probably trans, but I'm trying my best to not be, I don't know. You don't have a choice eventually, or you just die. I don't know.
What do people see when they see me? Who is this person? Whoever she isn't me. I'm close. I see her. She's so close. I can get there. I can almost get there. My face is almost there if it weren't for... She's so close, but she's so far away. And I'm curious how you conceptualize this sort of like future tense version of yourself. Is she like another person? Is she you, but just how you wish to be?
It feels like it's somebody who I can hear in my head, but I can't see. It's like there's a fog in the way or something, and some days the fog is thinner than other days, and sometimes you feel like you can kind of see this person, but you have to use your imagination to put like a face to this voice. I don't know, I feel like I know this person, but I just feel like I'm not necessarily there, and I'm not necessarily her yet. Whatever this future tense version of myself is, it's just not, like, I can't tell who that is, really.
And when you lose a parent at exactly the right age, when you're a closeted trans person at exactly the right time, when you have undiagnosed bipolar and depression in exactly the right combination of ways, all you can do is remember.
So it's this endless nightmare of knowing that this is just going to be every single day. So it just feels like, you can't wait to die. One day you're 19, and then you're 21, and then you're 23, and you're like, oh my God, I'm the same but worse. And I don't know, I was in college for 5 years, and it felt like 5 seconds. And if you asked me how I did college, I would not be able to tell you even where to start. I wouldn't even tell you where to start. Am I even the same person who has that degree?
Spend so much time going back through pictures, trying to find who you used to be, some proof that who you are now was always there. I look back at the child that I barely remember, and I see smiles, and I see happiness, good times. I see a kid who looks physically fit, running around playing with loving parents, doing kid things, never looking depressed or overwhelmed or cold, lonely. I see parents who are happy, and loving and accepting. I see a dad who plays along, and I see a mom who embraces her child fully. And I see a happy childhood. I see a happy childhood. And I don't remember it. I scour these pictures from time to time because I need proof that it wasn't always like this. I don't see an effeminate kid in those pictures. I don't see somebody who's uncomfortable in their own body. I just see a kid. Just a normal kid. I look at these pictures and all I see are dead things. My mom is dead. My dad is dead. And that kid, the kid hasn't existed in a long time. They might as well just not exist at all. And I always used to say that the memories are precious, that the people that leave, they live on in your mind. But the thing about memories is that you're rewriting them every time you remember them. You're playing them over, which essentially means that each time you're remembering something, it's like playing back a cassette tape. You're mutilating it. You're decaying it. Eventually, after enough plays, a VHS tape will be unrecognizable from its original version. It will be indistinguishable from noise. I look at those pictures and I wonder what those parents would have thought of me today. I wonder what I would have thought of them. Being a closeted trans person is like having an open wound. Coming out, becoming the person you want to be, it's like taking the knife out, looking at the wound and seeing what it is. Because you can't fix it if you don't know it's there. You can't fix it if you pretend it doesn't exist. You got to examine the wound. You've got to open it up a little wider, pull out all the dead tissue, clean it out, sew it up, treat it well, move on with your life. The thing about all of this is, eventually, the knife digs deep enough that you start scarring the bone. Some of these wounds, they go away. Some of them are too deep. They're canyons, permanently etched into your body. And then what do? This sweater that I'm wearing right now, I haven't worn it since over a year ago when I recorded the video that you can find on my channel that's called Hello, I Hate My Body. I kept it. I wanted to throw it away. I've thrown away all of my other clothes from before I came out. I've replaced my entire wardrobe with things that fit better and make me feel better. But I kept this because it's a part of that story. This is the thing that I used to cover myself up because look at it. Look how gigantic this thing is. It's a circus tent. It's a circus tent. And this is how I hid myself. Because when you're trans, it's not just about hiding your body because you're ashamed of it. It's hiding an absence more than it is a presence. You're ashamed on some level that you're not how you feel you should be in some way. And I didn't know how to quantify this when I was in high school. I just wore baggy shirts like this every day, all the time, even in summer. That wasn't healthy. That wasn't good. obviously there was something wrong. Why didn't anybody pull me aside and say, hey, why the fuck are you doing that? Honestly, probably they did, and I didn't want to say anything, or I didn't say anything, or I didn't know how to answer, or...
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Trans Questioning Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and today we're talking about you. Just to get us started, I figured I'd ask, why did you choose to do this?
Well, it wasn't a choice. It's something I needed to do.
Well, that's interesting, because you seem to have gone a long time without needing it.
Well, if I'd known that it was an option sooner, I would have transitioned earlier in life. I mean, why do you think
It's okay. I'm just teasing you. This is just a podcast. We're all having fun here. It's okay.
I know. I get defensive about
I
these.
just want to congratulate you, first of all, on all the progress you've made since you were that stupid kid in the bathroom of your mom's house. Do you remember how ugly you were back then? You're so much less ugly now. You've done it. You've come so far. Look at you. Look at us. We look so good. Cheers to that, am I right?
Yeah.
Don't think that just because you made a lot of progress that you're not still very flawed.
I know.
You've got a lot of work yet to do, sweetie, and I would not rest on your laurels if I was you.
I know, but when is enough? I mean, what more is there that I can reasonably change?
Well, look at those clothes, for one thing. You look like a man.
Are we really just going to do the ContraPoints thing now?
Well,
I don't wear this out in public, Sarah. This is just... I feel like shit today, and maybe that's all right, you know? Maybe I don't have to look great every single day.
I'm not trying to be mean. I love you. I love you. But you've got to know the things that are wrong with you so that when they point it out, you can just laugh in their face. See, if you've already cut yourself open, they can't inflict the wound first. Speaking of which, honey, why have you not shaved this entire video? It's really distracting. I mean, that second one of you in the wig, you would have looked good if you'd shaved off the stubble.
Well, it's for the video. It's supposed to be like a representation of
it's a symbolic... Okay, yeah, of course it is. Of course that is. You know, people are laughing at you about this, right? Everybody sees this little performance and they think you're so full of shit. Go back to making Game of Thrones videos and analyzing fight scenes, whatever the fuck else it is you used to do, instead of this highfalutin art film nonsense.
But that's what I want to do. I want to make art. That's what my mom wanted for me. That's what she tried to encourage for me.
Your mom wanted you to make art? Oh, that's so sweet. Your mom wanted you to make art. Oh, it's true. Your mom would have wanted you to make art. She never said that, did she? What did she say? You don't remember, do you? Neither do I. It's all lost. It's all gone, isn't it? Do you really think that if she'd lived, you would have gotten to the point where you are now? Do you think she really would have whipped you into shape? You really think you could have gotten where you are if she hadn't died?
Yes. I don't know.
Whatever. Let's get back to the question at hand. Why did you choose to do this?
I told you, I didn't have a choice. It's just what I needed to do.
No. I don't want to hear it. Why did you choose to do it now?
Because it was the only thing that I could do that would fix me.
But what if it doesn't fix you? What if it's just a phase? What if you're just full of shit, just like everybody thinks? It's not gonna fix who you are on the inside, Sarah. It's not gonna fix you.
I didn't mean to suggest that it would. Transitioning was something that would give me the tools that I needed to fix myself. And I have. I've really started to make...
Of course, that's what you think. I've put so much work into you, and you're just playing it off as if it's a fun little thing that you've thought your way through. Do you know how much I've had to deal with?
This whole time, all you've ever wanted was to jump ship, literally. And that's not gonna do it for me.
I didn't want to be this way, okay? I didn't want to beat myself up all the time. It's all you ever taught me how to do.
Oh, you didn't want to do it. Oh, well, that's nice. That's good. That's a convenient excuse. But you didn't really have a choice, did you? Because the alternative was killing yourself.
That's not true.
Yes, it was. Don't lie.
No, I refuse to believe that self-harm was the price for my survival.
You're the one who always likes to say it's better to feel something than nothing, right? So you cut yourself open to make yourself feel something, and now look at you. You're here, you made it, and you're almost there. You just got a little bit more work to put in, and you'll be good. You can't forget the lessons that I taught you, though. Otherwise, it's just going to be backsliding, and then it's going to be another 10 years. And honey, you don't have 10 years to spare.
You keep telling me that it had to happen this way, but it didn't. I was fucked by circumstance. My mom left me without the tools I needed to survive on my own. I had undiagnosed ADHD and bipolar. I was trans and completely lacked the language to know it. I needed help. But just because I couldn't find any doesn't mean that it couldn't have been there.
You're glad she's dead, aren't you?
Of course I'm not.
Yes, you are. It gives you a story. Before she died, that's all you could ever think about was what would happen if she died. You wrote that into every story you ever wrote. You imagined it every time she was gone for just a little bit too long. But secretly on the inside, you wanted it. You wanted it because it's a dramatic bit of character development. It's something you can make art about. Because as a straight white guy, you can't, what do you got? You got nothing. You've got nothing interesting to say. So, a couple of dead parents, a bunch of years of depression, good con. That's what you're afraid of, isn't it? That it's a con, that you're just conning everybody and you're conning yourself.
I can't help that my parents died or that my friends left. I can't help the mistakes that I made. All I can do is learn and make something out of it and try to be better.
You talk about wanting to be better. Well, be better and stop talking about it, because otherwise you're just going to have a whole graveyard of friends and relatives who've left you behind in one way or another, and you're just going to be left here all alone with me.
This is what you do. You hurt me over and over again. Even when I was a kid, you taught me to hate myself, to envy everyone. You said I should cut away all the pieces of myself that I didn't need so I could fit in somewhere. But never once did you encourage me to just be me. And even now, after everything that's happened, after all of this, you still just want to cut me down. And I'm sick of it. I have come so far. And all you want to do is...
You wouldn't have gotten this far if it hadn't been for me.
No, I got this far in spite of you. Every awful thing that you ever said to me, it wasn't some life-changing truth. It was just more weight on my shoulders that separated me from the world. Every time I got close to something, you pushed me away from it. The only thing holding me back was you. It was this constant barrage of destructive thoughts. I'm not trans. I'm so full of shit. This whole thing is bullshit. I'm crying. My parents would see me now. I'm trying to be special. I'm not special. I'm just a friend. I'll never be pretty. I'll never be. Still talking.
I'm doing it for attention. I'm doing it for fame. So people never find you crying.
This whole thing is changing like that. Here is too big. This whole thing is my clothes don't really match. Terrible. So overjoyed special. Too fat. My hair is too big. This is all just self-indulgence. Terrible. took it all. I took the abuse, I took the hatred, I took self-directed pain. I took it because it was all that I had. Because I didn't dare believe that I could be worth something, but I am. I've made it this far, and I'm fucking alive. And maybe I needed you once, but I don't need you anymore. What does it mean to transition? This last December of 2018 marked my graduation after 6 years in college, and it also marked the 10-year anniversary of my mom's death. And I'm going into a new year as Sarah. And I don't necessarily know what that means yet. The voice that we torture ourselves with, that person in our head that tells us that we're garbage, that we're terrible and ugly and all those things. It's not an image of beauty. It's not some representation of a larger societal truth. It's just a ghost that feeds off of misery. It's something that society made. It's an expectation that we put upon ourselves because it's what the world expects of us. I think as transgender people, we deconstruct ourselves, and that's part of the process of transitioning, because in order to even realize that you're transgender, you have to ask a really big question and come up with a not necessarily comfortable answer. But as hard as it is, as painful as it feels, it's not a point of weakness. It's a point of strength. Because looking in the mirror and truly seeing yourself, closing your eyes and reflecting on who you are as a person, learning and changing, those are not weak things. Admitting that you were wrong and growing, that's not a weak thing. That's a strong thing. That's a human thing. That means that you're becoming somebody that you can be proud of.
You know, on one hand, I'm happy I'm here, and I'm here, and I'm here. And that's great. And I would never change anything about that. But if I could change the horrible, terrible things that have happened, of course. But I like to look back and thank the abyss for doing this to me sometimes. I think you have to look back and you have to thank it for putting you through unforgivable, traumatic, terrible shit. You have to do that because it made you this strong person. You have to build up that armor. That's not armor you're born with. You know, your parents aren't going to give you that. Your parents can't prepare you for that. You have to do that for yourself, and you have to do it when you're ready, and oftentimes that means you have to do it after you've seen the worst and after you've suffered the most.
I feel the enormity of the choice that I'm making, and I don't know. I feel like right now, like the last 4 or 5 months of my life are the first time in a very long time that I've had an actual understanding of who I am as a person. And it just happened like 2 months too late.
There's so many things that the world is wanting me to be right now, and I just can't fucking take it. Like, I just want to exist, you know? I just want to be whoever this person that I am is.
And what hurts is that it was easier before I came out. Because I didn't give a shit about myself. I didn't want to live.
You know, at the same time, of course, if I could have protected myself somehow from all that, I would have definitely, and I've dedicated most of my life to trying to make sense out of all of the things that happened and try to help other people who are making sense out of what happened to them.
Transitioning is a lonely experience because it's inherently personal, and it's emotional, and it's scary, and it's painful. But we have to remember that for all the ways that the world perhaps doesn't want us to exist, that we do exist, that there is something real and tangible to us. And there's power in numbers. And there is strength in other people. It's important to take yourself apart and become the person you want to be, but it's equally important to step outside of yourself and find other people, and talk to them and learn from them and grow together. And the thing about all this pain, all this suffering, it's not your fault. It's okay to know that it's not your fault. All this trauma is not your fault. And it takes a lot of time to work through. But you can do it. You're not the first, and you're not going to be the last. And the people who come after you, they're going to need someone like you to show them the way, to help them find themselves. Because nobody can walk the path for you, but they can show you the way. In this world that's so filled with pain and hatred and bigotry, all we have is each other. And we need each other to live, to be alive. The thing is, I, for one, want to live. And I want you to live too. Special thanks go to Cocornell, Eli Gerzon, Sineki, Violet Vizcara, Avery J, Logan McQuiston, Austin McCauley, The Morehammer, Kill All Landlords, Amy Mims, Luke Jensen, Sorush Strife, Bianca Gonzalez, Risha Zriris, Set, Richard Daly, and Latier. Those folks are my $10 a month patrons over at patreon.com/LTAS, without whose support this video would not have been possible. If you like this video and you want to support me making more, go over to patreon.com/LTAS, and for as little as $1 a month, you get access to all sorts of patron exclusive things. But specifically, I want to highlight the $5 a month tier, which is the behind the scenes tier. If you're at all interested in the process of making something like whatever this was, that's the place to go, because there's going to be a lot. As always, links to everything are in the description, and thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Congratulations, I hope you feel okay. I do, somehow. I think I finally run out of things to say, so I'll see you in the next one.